All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are watching from today. We're so excited to have the NYOUG lunchtime training days for you this week. That's 4 days of sessions, and we're just excited to have a great lineup of speakers for you all. So today's webinar is focused on Oracle Cloud and Oracle Database. And hopefully you join us for the next following days where we will focus on Oracle to Azure, Oracle Performance, and PL SQL. So a little bit about NYOUG. NYOUG was founded in 1984 for the exchange of ideas, assistance, and support among users of Oracle software products. The organization consists solely of volunteers, consultants, and vendors of Oracle-related services and products, and there are individual, corporate, and educational or nonprofit membership plans available. More information can be found on the NYOUG membership page. You can follow NYOUG on Twitter, meetup.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, or at their website, nyoug.org. And this week's conference is sponsored by Viscosity, Quest Software, and Incorda. My name is Monica Lee. I'm the marketing director for Viscosity, and we are a full Oracle stack consulting firm with a core expertise in Oracle database, including RAC, Oracle Apex, zero downtime migrations, performance tuning, high availability, and so much more. We've got decades of experience with infrastructure and engineered systems. And lately, we've been upgrading many of our customers to Oracle Database 19c. We also host monthly workshops and webinars through orapub.com. And as of January 1st, orapub.com is powered by Viscosity. So this is a place where you can go even create a free membership and you can see tons of free resources, kind of like webinars like this. They're all on demand there. Definitely check it out. This week's sessions will also be posted on Orapub as well as nyoug.org. So today's sessions are live. We've got 3 phenomenal speakers for you. I hope you take advantage of that and you put questions in the Q&A box, not the chat box, but the Q&A box. If you can direct them to our speakers, Sean, Jim, or Rich today, that will help us as they can also go back and answer your questions after their webinar's over. They can just type out an answer for you as well. So keep that in mind. So before I go over a few more things, I would like to turn it over to our sponsor, Incorda, to tell you a little bit about them. Hey, Ryan. I don't think we can hear you.
Hey, it helps when you know how to work the mute button.
Hey.
How's everybody going today? My name is Ryan Garrett. I am I lead our sales engineering org here for Incorda for strategic accounts for the eastern part of North America. Look forward to excited to talk with you today a little bit about Incorda and how it fits into the Oracle ecosystem. It'll be kind of just a 5-minute overview, a couple-minute overview, and then I'll take a couple of questions, and then I'll happy to share my contact information to those that have any questions, and happy to kind of continue on the conversation. So the first thing is, let me just kind of I'll hit the old share screen here button. I'm actually Monica. I'm not able to share the screen, but I'll talk through that while we're looking at that. First, let me tell you a little bit about Incorda. So Incorda is a modern data platform, really kind of with the genesis of coming out of decades of experience in Oracle. Most of our founders had come from Oracle, and they really thought that it was an easier way or an easier path to get data and analytics out of Oracle. So they actually spun off a number of years ago and built Incorda really with the sole purpose in mind to be able to simplify data and analytics out of Oracle. So we see ourselves as a highly complementary play with your existing Oracle stack, and really simplifying that process for your teams to be able to, get data, make it usable, get it consumable by the business. So the first thing is we kind of want to set the stage about kind of the traditional approach with data architecture. When we look at these with customers, we see, on the left-hand side, we have some business sources, data sources. I know we're talking a lot about Oracle today, but if there's other sources that have in mind, we include that into the group here as well. In the traditional process, there's an ETL process. You're going to kind of move that data into a raw and then off into refined and business zones. Each step of the way, that's a manual process that goes with that, as well as you're aggregating and reducing some of the data that's available for your consumers downstream. Now, this is a bit of a challenge because customers are asking more of their data. They want to be more agile with their data. The business users are demanding access to better data, faster data, more complete sets of data in order to make business decisions. And this traditional way of moving data through a pipeline has a bit of challenges. And so within Corda, what we see ourselves is that platform that's in the middle between your data source. And so specifically, we're talking about Oracle today and Oracle Cloud, and really giving you a platform to automate that process, automate the process of getting that data consumable, ready to the business, and making sure we're able to get that accessible, deliver them transaction level detail, reduce the friction that it requires to be able to deliver data, and reduce the manual process that's inherently in the previous approach with the kind of traditional ETL process, extracting, combining, joining, all that great stuff. So within Corda, what we've done is, when it comes to Oracle, we've actually mapped out both from Oracle on-premise EBS as Oracle Cloud Fusion, the modules that exist in there. So general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable. So our customers can take that data, use our blueprints, and get to up and running and get to deliverable data very quick. I'm going to give you a good example. One of our customers is a very large coffee brand. They're on every corner, every street. They actually have an Oracle backend. They had planned 12 to 18 months for their data migration and acceleration process. And within Corda, we were able to get them up and running in 10 weeks. So dramatically reduce the time it takes to get value from their data and the number of people, resources that's required to achieve that. Now, one particular use case that I thought might be relevant for the team here is, one of the strengths of Corda's platform is actually being able to combine data at scale. So being able to combine data from, say, an EBS, an existing EBS install, as well as an ERP cloud migration. And why is this important, I think, is I know that the topic of the day here is, cloud. And I know that many customers are going through a transformation. They're taking, 2, 3, 4 years to be able to fully migrate from an on-premise EBS into a cloud. And really where we see Corda can come in and add value here is being able to report across both of those different ERPs and being able to provide a single picture of, say, your general ledger. So how much money was spent, compared to this time last year. So we can bring that all into a single platform and make that data consumable, ready by the business. And we can do this in a matter of weeks, not months or years, and really seeing a high degree of value that our customers can get just by being able to, combine data across multiple ERP platforms. Couple of things that we see when we look at Corda, we see 8 to 10x deployment time reduction. So reducing the time it takes to get data and get it consumable, usable, streamlining that migration and the reporting cost that goes across as you migrate those ERP systems. And we enable the business to have self-service analytics throughout that process. And the last thing I'll just kind of show you here is one of the success stories. This is a Scientific Games. This is a customer that they saw a huge uptick in analytics. They saw, a significant improvement for their dashboards. They saw, the ability to combine data across ERP and multiple tools. So they saw a very significant impact to their business just by leveraging Corda. So let me pause there for a second, folks. That's kind of the quick kind of 3-minute story of Incorda, and I'll pause and see what questions there are from the audience here.
Cool. And while you guys get any questions in you might have for Ryan, could you share your contact information with everyone in the chat?
Absolutely. I will do that right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we're so thankful to have sponsors Incorda today. It is quite a production to get even just a virtual webinar or conference up and running. So we appreciate support from Incorda and Quest. So thank you guys so much. If you've got any questions for Ryan, pop them in there. I'm going to go ahead and remind you guys a few things. Yes, the sessions are live. Yes, this is recorded. Yes, you'll have access to the recordings and slide decks that the speakers choose to share with us. If you don't have any other questions for us, we're going to get started. I'm so excited to have Stacey present for us. He is a director of product management at Oracle, and he's going to be talking to us today about running your Oracle database in the cloud. So Sean, it is all yours.
Thank you, Monica. Hey, everyone. Ryan, that was really informative. I actually got a couple of good pieces of information from that. And I'll actually mention one of the customers I think you were referring to later on in my deck. I know that there's a situation where we're working together. But anyway, thank you everyone for attending this session. It's really fun to be in NYOUG. I'm just disappointed I can't be there in person. It used to be one of my favorite events. The last one was in 2019 when we all went to the Oracle office, and I had problems getting my output of my computer to work, of all places, at an Oracle office. In any event, I'm an outbound PM with Oracle's database development team. And my work focuses predominantly on the database as it stands, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud. And recently I've been doing a fair bit of work with helping with certifications for our cloud platforms, both in helping end people such as yourselves get certified to use our products, as well as helping partners and ISVs to validate and certify their applications to support our cloud offerings. Now, I'm going to switch off my camera because it doesn't help with my audio, with my bandwidth. So I'm switching that off, and I'll continue without it. So let's take a look at this. And while I'm talking, at least to get started, if we can have people do a show of hands, I guess. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. There's a raise hand icon you may see on the bottom of your Zoom console. If you can raise your hand if you're running Oracle on a cloud today, on any cloud. So let's see who raises their hand. Okay, I'm seeing a few people. Oh, that's great. Okay, so not as many as I anticipated, which is really good. I mean, it doesn't matter either way. And then the next one, and yeah, the next question is, who is running an Oracle database on an Oracle cloud? So not just in the cloud, but in Oracle's cloud. Vijay, I see your hand is still up. I'm not sure. Oh, yep, your hand is still up. I'm assuming that means that you're still running in an Oracle public cloud. Okay, well, good to know. So that's good to hear, because you're in the right session. So really, the discussion I'm going to talk about, and by the way, I'm the opening act or the support band for the rock stars we have showing up later, and they will be delving into much more detail of some of our specific products around using Oracle's database in the cloud. In addition to that, there's some great sessions in the following days. I know our favorite Jeff Smith, or that Jeff Smith, will be doing a session on loading data and working with development aspects of potentially uploading data into our cloud as well. So there are some very good sessions coming up that I strongly recommend you attend. I know Jim's going to be doing some good things with the consoles, etc. But let's get moving on this, because I am running out of time, and I want to make sure I cover as much details as I can. But the point I want to make on this slide is that really the the key takeaway is that Oracle has been supporting solutions in a hosted model for many years. And our cloud infrastructure platform is something that's very new, both technologically and architecturally. And it's something that is cutting edge, and believe it or not, even though there are bigger cloud vendors out there, AWS and Azure today, for example, the cloud that we're providing is an innovative shift from what they're able to provide. And I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing at that layer before I delve into our database offerings on the cloud, and why you should really consider looking at Oracle's cloud if you are looking at running a database in the cloud, right? So it should become apparent that we have some pretty amazing enterprise offerings when it comes to supporting SLAs, when it comes to security, when it comes to availability and performance, all the things that a business would look for when running a database workload and a mission critical workload in a cloud. And it's designed, and it should become apparent that it's designed from day one to support those types of workloads. Now, I'd also like to say that really we are focused on helping our customers move to the cloud, and customers such as Viscosity. I mean, Viscosity has such an amazing team of people who are working with customers on a daily basis to help move them to the cloud. And that story by Ryan about what Encoda's offering is just amazing too. So really just remember, there is a whole ecosystem out there to help our customers move to the cloud. But don't forget that we're also offering assistance to supplement the Viscosities and the Encodas of the world to help you be successful in moving your workload to the cloud, right? So we have a SOAR program to accelerate migrations of Oracle Fusion cloud migrations, right? We have a Cloud Lift, free assistance to migrating to OCI. Now, will we be able to provide that, that boutique service that Encoda is able to provide, or Viscosity? In some cases, perhaps, but in many cases, working with a Viscosity or an Encoda definitely does make sense. Now, we're also doing things to try and make that journey or that move to the cloud more financially feasible, like BYOL, bring your own licenses to the cloud platform. We offer some great discounts based on bringing your own licenses on your support credits and things such as that. But also keep in mind that our cloud has been around for quite some time, and we have many people and businesses running their workloads on our cloud, and we're able to support these mission critical workloads without any issue, right? So really, when we talk about the cloud, what does Oracle have to offer, right? What I'd like to mention here is probably everyone on this call is more familiar with running the Oracle database than they are potentially of running other workloads in a cloud platform. So for those of you that may be speaking to architects or developers or other people in your office that are looking at running other types of workloads in the cloud, the answer to them is that Oracle can support any of these workloads, right? We have a rich suite of developer services using cutting edge or supporting cutting edge development platforms, cloud native platforms as well. It's no different. We have compute, storage, containers and functions and networking capabilities to support any workload. And we're using latest developed technology. So the chips that we're supporting are the latest. It's all cutting edge. If you're running an Exadata in our cloud, it's X9M. If you're running any technology, we have GPU services. We have data lakehouse services. We have integration services. We have machine learning and AI services, all been built into our cloud and really focused on ease of use. So when it comes to orchestrating and deploying a workload in the cloud, it's definitely not, there's not a steep learning curve to adapt to it. And in fact, just this week, I was working with a security company to help them validate their application to run in our cloud for various customers that are running their suite. And the team I was working with was just blown away with, first of all, how easy it was and intuitive it was to adopt their workload to run in our cloud compared to the previous clouds they'd worked with. And they were also extremely impressed with the performance. They were blown away, in fact, with the performance that they were seeing just to run simple tasks such as deploying a compute instance to run their workload. So really, if you're looking at a cloud and you've not considered the Oracle Cloud, I strongly suggest you do take a look. And the next thing I want to point out is that our cloud is deployed all over the world. We have 37 regions so far, and we have 7 more planned by the end of 2022, pretty much in every continent. And we also have something there that I'll talk about a little bit later when I talk about our multi-cloud offerings. We have something called the Microsoft Interconnect. So there are certain regions you'll see, for example, in Phoenix, we have what we call an interconnect region, where if you have a workload where you are potentially running perhaps your clients or your desktops or your applications in Azure, we provide a dedicated fast connect to tie that workload to the Oracle Cloud. And we have some pretty significant customers who are doing that, where they're running their front end or their application suite in Azure, and they're running their workload or their data stored in an Exadata service running in the Oracle Cloud or in an autonomous database. We also have, not only do we have commercial cloud support, we also have support for government workloads as well. And that includes all the various compliance and regulatory requirements for security, et cetera. So I'm going to go through this quickly because I am running short on time, but I just want to delve into each one of those regions. So you can imagine there would be, say, let's say we're looking at the cloud data center in Phoenix. In that region, we have this concept of an availability domain. So traditionally, we have 3 availability domains within a region, and those 3 availability domains are separated in distance, typically about 30 kilometers apart to allow for some resiliency and redundancy. And then within each one of those availability domains, we have the ability to mirror a workload across each one of them. We have a dedicated connectivity to provide under 500 microsecond latency between those availability domains. And they're all they're designed for fault tolerance. And we also allow availability domain or region to region connectivity as well, as you would anticipate. And we have over a terabyte per second bandwidth between those locations as well. Now you'll notice I have these green layers on top of these availability domains. We have a physical layer, and the physical layer is really the physical infrastructure that you could imagine you would run on. And then we have the virtual layer, which is the virtual networking, the virtual services and other components you would run on top of that. And then above that, we have our services, whether it be a PaaS service, an IaaS service, a software service, a security service, etc. And then above that, we have our governance for self-management of those individual components. Now, within each availability domain, we further break that down and divide that into 3 separate fault domains. So the idea of a fault domain is that we have isolation at the power supply level, at the cooling level, at the physical rack level. So it ensures that a workload, perhaps you're running a real application cluster, it will span multiple fault domains. So we perform tasks or resiliency that span multiple fault domains to provide that additional layer of resiliency within each of those availability domains. So we really take resiliency and availability, we place a lot of significance on that. Now, I mentioned the physical layer, and this is something where we definitely do separate, or you can think of the Oracle Cloud in a different way to other cloud vendors. And the first thing I want to point out here is that our physical layer follows a concept from day one. Our architects decided that we were planning to build this to support a non-oversubscribed network, right? So it's a flat network. Every component can talk directly to each other. And it really allows our workloads not to be throttled or bottlenecked. And we really take communication between the various components within our cloud infrastructure very important. We place a lot of significance on that. Sorry for mincing my words there. And we have high-speed interconnects. We have 2 times 50 gigabits per second bandwidth between the various components. And because it's no more than 2 hops to get to any individual piece, or no more than 2 hops at all, we can guarantee specific performance metrics. It's completely predictable, and there's low latency there. And we're the only cloud network that can, the only cloud provider that can provide network performance SLAs because of that dependable infrastructure that we have. Now, moving on to the database, the Oracle database is the same database that you would run whether you're running on-premise, whether you're running in another public cloud, or whether you're running in Oracle's cloud. And hopefully you're all familiar with the various capabilities that we can support with respect to developers. We support all the popular languages. We support the APIs and the tools that you would anticipate you would need to use in a cloud environment. We support all the cloud native languages, and we really do place a lot of emphasis on supporting open source and cloud communities as well. So really, at the end of the day, it's all about customer choice and portability. And we do take it, we do place a lot of credibility in the fact that a workload that runs on an Oracle database on-premise will work in our cloud. And the Oracle database is the same set of binaries that are running on-premise or in the Oracle cloud, or potentially in another cloud. So it's not like you need to recompile your PL SQL packages, or you need to modify your database schema to run from one database footprint to another. It's the same database and the same standardized tools, if not simplified in certain platforms for administrators and people who are performing the DevOps side of the house. Now, drilling into that a little bit more, yeah, I mean, we support running the database as a Docker container. We support it as a Podman container. We support Kubernetes. We support a whole slew of the whole container model. We support running the Oracle database on Azure, AWS, and other third-party clouds. We obviously support running the database on premises, and that could be in or on commodity hardware, as well as obviously our engineered systems. And then we have something called Cloud at Customer, which is, if you're not familiar with it, which is where we would run, or you would run our database as a service on hardware that would be located within your own data center. But it would have a connection to the Oracle DevOps or Cloud Ops to provide cloud tooling, and the same look and feel and interface and set of operations you would perform through the cloud could be performed on that server. Now, one thing I failed to mention when I talked about our cloud regions, we also support dedicated regions. So that's 37 cloud regions that we support today does not include some customer deployed cloud data centers as well. And we have some of those all over the world. So that's yet another service that we're able to offer. So I'm going to skip this one, but just keep in mind that we do take all of these items very importantly, right? So security, simplicity, high availability, redundancy, and most of all, we do provide very flexible ways to run on our cloud. So the other thing I want to point out here is that as you move to the various services in our cloud, we do give you lots of choices as to how you would choose to run your database. And this is looking specifically running it in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure or our public cloud. So we do provide an affordable model where someone may choose to just run the database as a platform as a service, where we provide cloud out-of-the-box cloud tooling for them, but they want to provide or access a service that's more managed by them at a more affordable price. And that's our database cloud service as a VM. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And then we have our Exadata service, which is where we run an Exadata in the cloud for our customers. That's both dedicated or as a service that you would subscribe to. And then obviously we have something called our autonomous database that you'll be hearing a little bit about or more about in our following sessions. I'm going to delve into these, and I'll cover those other items as we get there. So when it comes to running your database, it's important to understand what type of workload you're looking at running, and what's the requirements in terms of recovery time objectives, recovery point objectives, etc., as well as what sort of performance you're looking for. Can you afford to have fluctuations in performance, etc.? Do you require real application clusters? So with those things in mind, we do have something within our public cloud that can meet all of these requirements that you would expect to or anticipate to see in an on-premises deployment. Now, you notice RAC is not supported on other public clouds. And quite often I have this conversation with people where they wonder if this is because Oracle's just being difficult to deal with. And no, the answer is really because there are specific requirements when it comes to shared storage and accessing that shared storage. That's not a straightforward thing to deploy in other cloud deployments. And yes, there are people that have gotten RAC to work, I believe, in AWS, for example, but those are more academic projects, and they're not really something that you would really want to run a mission critical workload. I mean, the reason people are running RAC is because of the requirements that or the capabilities it introduces with respect to scalability and high availability, et cetera. When you run on one of those types of deployments, you're not really meeting what your initial goal was. So let's have a quick look at the 4 different categories. I've categorized this with how you can run the cloud today in the Oracle cloud infrastructure. So starting out with the first one, I've just got an IaaS here, and this is where you would simply deploy a compute, and that's what we're seeing here in this dotted line. And deploying a compute is extremely easy. You would choose an Oracle Linux or Red Hat Enterprise Linux or an Ubuntu server or a CentOS server or a Windows server. And then at that point, once you've provisioned it, it would be just like connecting to a compute that you have in the cloud. And you could then go ahead and download the Oracle bits and install the database service, the database binaries yourself. You would be responsible for installing it, configuring your backups, configuring your tools, configuring everything, right? All we're doing is we're permitting you, or we're giving you the ability, I should say, to offload the support and maintenance of that compute that you would be running your database on. So why would you choose to do that? Well, first of all, you've got the ability or the flexibility to have a standardized footprint that you're running on. You no longer have to worry about maintaining that server and keeping it up and available and secure. It's all being done for you. But the reason you may choose to do this over perhaps running on another cloud vendor is we differentiate ourselves in that the VM you're running is your own VM, and the underlying processes that are allocated to run your VM, your compute node, are dedicated to you. They're not shared, memory's not over provisioned, and the network, as I mentioned before, is completely dedicated to just your workload. So if that's something that you're contemplating, or you have a specific requirement to just run and maintain your own database running on a server in the cloud, definitely consider Oracle's infrastructure as a service. Now, there are a couple of cons here. The servers are partitioned, right? So you can't just grow your CPUs. You have to incur a downtime to scale up that machine potentially. Your memory has a dependency on the shape. Your network is also tied to that shape as well. And then there's no special patches. You would follow the same patching model as you would if you were running the system on premises. So keep that in mind. So that's really it for those people who want to run their own workloads as an infrastructure as a service. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is our database cloud service VM. And our database cloud service VM is where we actually provide a PaaS service for you. It's a full database instance of Oracle. You can choose the edition if it's standard edition, onto enterprise edition, and then some. And it's a highly available network detached storage volumes. It supports real application clusters as well as data guard. You can run databases up to 40 terabytes. You have a full instance of the database. And we support out of the box 12.2, 18C, 19C, and 21C. Now, installing it is extremely easy. It's just a dashboard or a console that you click a few buttons, choose the version of the database, the size you want for some components, and it creates it in about 10, maybe 15 minutes at the very most. But my experience is it's typically under 10 minutes. I just deployed one the other day, in fact. Now, the virtual machine, it's a DBCS, it's a database cloud service that is running on a virtual machine. You can choose the size of that virtual machine, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, or 24 OCPUs. We allow you to choose the storage. It's block storage only, but we do give you the ability to deploy for grid infrastructure if you're going to be running RAC. So we do support real application clusters as well. And we provide a container database out of the box with a pluggable database, and you can go ahead and provision additional PDBs. Transparent data encryption is available, or is enforced. It's not even available, it is enforced. You don't have a choice. And we can scale your storage up but not down. Now, one of the differentiators with our PaaS service here is that we also give you full root access to the host that's running that database cloud service. So when you provision the instance, it's going to ask you to download a private key or upload one if you already have your own. And that private key will be used to access the VM that the database cloud service is running on. So you could go in and perform tasks on that system if you so wish to. Now that system gives you an account that you have sudo as right. So you have the equivalency of using root. Now within there, within that console, we do provide backing up, patching, data guard. Patching is extremely easy. We give you a dashboard to say, I want to patch the database, and you can check that the patch is going to be applied okay, that there are no issues. You can apply the patch, and if there's an issue, you can roll it back quite easily. Setting up data guard and tooling is extremely easy as well. Now, licensing for the cloud is different to what you're used to seeing on premises. And yes, you can choose standard edition or enterprise edition, but we also have enterprise high performance and enterprise extreme performance. So if you don't have existing licenses, you would choose one of the various bundles if you wish. But if you have an existing license, you can bring those licenses to the Oracle Cloud. And I've got some information there on how it would apply. You would use a processor license mapping to 2 OCPUs. Your support would carry over, etc. Now I've got a breakdown here of what's included. So if you run standard edition, you get a full database instance up to 16 OCPUs and 240 gig of RAM, RAM. And then remember, all your table spaces are encrypted by default across all versions. So what I mean by that is if you're running enterprise, it's going to be using TDE for encryption. Now you'll notice that with enterprise, we add all of these capabilities. I've added here spatial, graph, and JSON because that's available in all versions of the database now. In fact, they're also available in standard edition too. Now, if there are additional capabilities you're looking for, potentially multi-tenant or partitioning or advanced compression, then you can go with our high performance service. And then the next one beyond that is our extreme performance, which includes all the enterprise edition options, as well as real application clusters, database in memory, as well as active data guard. So we have a lot of choices for you when it comes to deploying in a database cloud service. Now, I'm not going to harp on this for too long, but just be aware that we provide support data guard both within the same availability domain, that would be across fault domains, or even across regions as well. So I helped a customer recently set it up from Phoenix to Ashburn, and they used that for a rolling upgrade. They wanted to do an operating system upgrade or something to that effect, and they were able to use data guard in that mode. So moving on to the next one, because I don't want to run out of time. We also support Oracle Exadata in our cloud. Now, just as you would expect with an Exadata, it's everything you would see with an on-premises system and then some, in that you have a dedicated service that is supporting your workload or an infrastructure, an Exadata infrastructure. We support quarter, half, full racks. We support multiple container databases. We support all of, when you would license this service, it would include all of the extreme performance capabilities. So it does include multi-tenant, it does include real application clusters, database in memory, active data guard, all of those capabilities are there as well. Now, we also give you full root access to that service as well. And we give you access to the cloud components such as the OCI buckets for backups, etc. And those OCI buckets can be used for other things as well, such as data lakehouses and data mesh capabilities as well. Now, when it comes to deploying an Exadata database service, we have pay-as-you-go subscriptions. So you basically would subscribe to a service and only pay as you use it. There's no upfront commitment. There's no minimum service period. And then you only charge for what you use. Now, if you're running a workload that you're confident is going to be required for, like perhaps it's your production workload, so the pay-as-you-go might be well suited for test and dev. But when you're ready to deploy something for production workload that's going to be out there continuously being consumed, then you would look at using an annual subscription. And that's where you get these cloud credits that you can use across the board for all these various services. You can ramp them up. The reason you would choose the annual subscription is for discounted pricing. It's not like you're going to get a different class of service versus pay-as-you-go. That's one thing I want to make clear. It's not like we have different classes of consuming credits in Oracle's cloud. Every service has the same commitment when it comes to resources available to them. We don't scale out or shut down workloads to support other workloads or anything like that. The workload is the same across different types of subscriptions. The reason you would choose annual is because you are going to then be able to qualify for a discounted pricing. And then we provide per second billing, which basically we give you an infrastructure for a minimum of 48 hours. And then after that, we bill you by the second. And that usage period is a minimum of a minute beyond that. So it's very, very flexible when it comes to doing these workloads. Perhaps you do have a test that you need to run on an Exadata database service. That would be the way you would run that. Now, the new kid on the block, well, not so new anymore, is our autonomous database services. And our autonomous is really, it's actually one of the most cost-effective, affordable ways of running a database in the Oracle Cloud. And it's available in many modes. So I'll start with shared. So our shared service is where you're running a predefined service. It's running on that same Exadata infrastructure rack. So you've got storage indexes and all those good capabilities that would be provided for an Exadata service. But really importantly, we have auto scaling for CPU as well as storage. So you can basically run a workload. If you have a workload that's running, say you've got a workload that's running on a service or running on a system in production on premises today, and it requires, you've got it set up as running on 12 CPUs. When you go to move that workload to the autonomous database, you could potentially run that with just 4 OCPUs, because with auto scaling, we can dynamically increase the number of CPUs that workload needs up to scale up to 3 times, only for when those number of CPUs are required. And once they're no longer required, it would scale back down, and you would only be billed for those additional CPUs for that specific workload. So on premises, you may choose to run your system with 12 CPUs because that's what the database requires during particular peaks. Running on an autonomous database, you don't have to set it up that way. You would just want to set, you could potentially lower your number of CPUs that are constantly being consumed to 1/3 of what your peak is. Now, with the autonomous database, you do not have root access. You don't have access to the underlying operating system, but we provide all the patching for you. We do backups for you automatically. We do provide something called Active Data Guard, or Autonomous Data Guard, I should say. I keep getting my acronyms mixed up. We have Autonomous Data Guard available, which is set up just by checking a radio button. And then we also, I've repeated myself with the auto scaling. We do all of this automatically for you. Now, in addition to the autonomous database shared, we support multiple types of workloads with the Oracle Autonomous Shared Database. We support autonomous data warehouse workloads, or autonomous data warehouse is a service that you can subscribe to for running data warehouse workloads. If you've got a workload that's probably more analytical focused and using machine learning, it's doing more reads than writes. But if you have a workload that is more transactional heavy, then we have the Oracle Autonomous Transaction Processing. Now, under the covers, they are the same Oracle physical database and sets of binaries that are running in the Exadata system. However, with the Autonomous Data Warehouse, we're providing the database, we're using the columnar store cache, flash cache of the Exadata to load that data and store it in that format. Versus with ATP, or Autonomous Transaction Processing, it's pretty much a traditional database that you would anticipate running a workload on. So if you have a warehouse that's potentially being updated fairly frequently, then it may make more sense to run that on an ATP, but it just depends. We've seen great results for our customers running on either platform. And then we also have something called Autonomous JSON Database. So if you've got document store capabilities that you are looking at running, you can run our Autonomous JSON Database that has optimizations built within it to support running JSON workloads. And it also includes our binary JSON data type for additional optimizations and indexing and other capabilities. So the real reason the main reason you'd want to use an autonomous database is the provisioning is extremely fast and efficient. You simply name the database, provide a password to connect to it, and then you you can connect either via a wallet, so you can do the traditional wallet authentication, or you can use TLS connection to just connect without a wallet and connect directly to the database. And we support both public and private endpoints connectivity. So any application should be able to connect and work with the autonomous database. Now, our early versions required the wallet to connect and authenticate to the database, but we have since changed that. Configuration of the system is all automatically done for you. Everything's automatically encrypted, and that goes across the board for all of our cloud services. But with the autonomous database, we patch everything online. We update the database online. We also, as I mentioned, elastic scaling up and down, and we tune. We perform everything for you automatically when it comes to tuning the database. All the optimizations and optimizer tuning is done for you. So it eliminates human error, human labor. It eliminates potentially downtime, eliminates scaling complexity. And even if you want to go beyond the automatic scaling and you realize, or you're adding an additional workload to your autonomous database, you can scale your database without downtime as well. So if you choose to say, hey, you know, I had initially set it for 4, knowing that I can scale up to 12, but I'm seeing some operations could do with a higher level than just 12, then you can go ahead and manually scale the base up to say 5, 6, 7, whatever you want, and you won't incur any downtime. So the next level up for our autonomous database is an autonomous database dedicated. Now, with the autonomous database dedicated, this is where you would run on an Exadata infrastructure that's devoted just for your workload. So you're not sharing that larger database with multiple neighbors. You're running this as strictly your own service. So the reason someone may choose to do this is that you basically have more control on patching the system. You can patch the system. You can set up a window of when you want your, I apologize, my dog keeps ringing the bell if you're hearing a bell ringing in the background. But in any event, when it comes to patching this, with the shared service, we will notify you when we're about to patch the system, and we'll go ahead and update it without you having any impact or having any say on how that operation is taking place. With the dedicated footprint, you can lag and you can have some control on when those patches are applied, and you can say, hey, I choose to be a full calendar quarter behind the latest patch. Perhaps I want to test that out on my dev test environment. Once I've validated that that's good and working, then I'll let my production environment be patched. So we give you that type of control. And you can also set up multiple pluggable database instances with the autonomous dedicated. We give you a couple of extra capabilities too when it comes to availability. Now, across the board for the autonomous database, you'll see there's a lot of autos here, right? We have auto provisioning, auto scaling, auto backups, auto patching, auto protection, auto configuration. We have also automatic indexing was introduced as part of our autonomous database service. We have automatic partitioning. We have other capabilities that we've added, in fact. We have automatic materialized views is something else that we've added. So there's a lot of capabilities there that would justify trying out our autonomous database. Now, getting back to our database generic conversation, and one of the benefits of running in Oracle's cloud is that we have something called Oracle Data Safe. And Oracle Data Safe is an out-of-the-box unified database security control center that's available to all our databases. Now, if you're running the Exadata Cloud Service, the DBCS, and the autonomous database, this is included free of charge with no extra cost. If you're running the IaaS footprint, you would have to pay for the additional service. But even then, the additional service is extremely cost effective. It's something like, well, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it is extremely affordable. We also support, Oracle's Data Safe also supports running, supporting databases that are running on premises as well. Now, the value of this tool is it provides an easy way to do security assessments. It provides user security, it provides auditing, it allows you to mask your data. It provides all of these capabilities very effectively. It also lets you ensure that you're meeting your compliance. We have some pre-built dashboards to check your data to see if it's GDPR compliant or if it's SOX compliant. Believe it or not, we also have HIPAA support there as well. So we allow you to do that. And then the other thing we allow you to do is set a baseline that you can then compare and see if anything has changed from over the last month or whatever period it is that you're looking at running your security assessment across. Now, one other thing I want to point out is that when it comes to deploying in our cloud, the most obvious approach is to run everything through our dashboards and our consoles, but perhaps you've got some fleet management operations, or perhaps you have some sandbox that you wish to deploy and then shut down and do some other work and then bring it back up on an as-need basis. Well, we have tooling options to allow you to do this as well. We have an OCI CLI, which allows you to script, if you wish, to script deploying, to script patching, scaling up, scaling down, backing up, everything can be scripted. We also have something called Kubernetes operators, and Kubernetes operators provide out-of-the-box Helm charts, if you wish, that allow you to provision an autonomous database very easily. So that's something worth looking at. We have the repositories in GitHub to pull them down as well, all the pre-existing Helm charts. And then we also have the database CLI or DB CLI for our virtual machine, which is similar to the OCI CLI. We have REST API support, so you can use curl from an operating system on a remote host to perform a lot of your cloud tooling and your database operations, such as backing up, cloning, starting, stopping, provisioning. All of that can be done through REST APIs as well. Now, I believe there's a session coming up in the next couple of days that we'll be talking about REST APIs in general. Just keep in mind that we give you some cloud ops around the database for that as well. Now, on my front slide, I did have my blog page. I have SeanStacey.org, and on that website, I'm actually working on documenting a way to use REST APIs to start up and stop an autonomous database as well. So you can expect to see that published soon. And then XCS or database cloud service, we have some APIs as well that are supported for performing those tasks. So the next thing I want to talk about really quickly, and I am getting short on time, is multi-cloud being the new norm, right? So we're seeing many customers that see a benefit of running in one particular cloud for one style of workload and then another cloud for another type of workload. Obviously, Oracle is the place to run the database. So we're seeing some customers that are looking at using the Oracle cloud in that way. So yeah, we have the most complete support for pretty much all hybrid cloud strategies, right? And hopefully you've already picked up on that we have dedicated regions, we have our public cloud regions, we have government, we have the military DoD compliant clouds as well. We have or data centers. We have Exadata Cloud at customer, and then we have roving edge infrastructure as well. So there's those services that can be connected to your cloud, whether that application be running in Azure, in AWS, it doesn't matter. Now we have a customer in Brazil who's actually taking advantage of our interconnect between the fast connect between Azure and Oracle, Oracle's OCI, and they're running SAP HANA in Microsoft Azure. They're running virtual desktops with Windows servers running custom apps. And then they're running their infrastructure to run Oracle database in our cloud, as well as running VMware and SaaS and Siebel CRM all within our cloud. And they're seeing great results. So this is just one example. We have many more, but I thought they were a good one. Now, you're probably wondering how easy it is to move to the cloud, to move your database to our cloud. And we have a tool called ZDM. We refer to it as ZDM, which stands for Zero Downtime Migration. If you check out this URL, oracle.com/database technology/rack ZDM, or just Google Oracle Zero Downtime Migration, you'll find everything there. we have a tool that can simplify the task of migrating that on-premises workload. And we do this basically by creating a backup, or taking a backup from on-premises and moving that into the cloud. So we give you several options to do that. And when we perform this task, we don't physically say, hey, I'm going to back up my database and copy that to a file system somewhere, then FTP that over to the cloud and perform the install from that. That is a possibility. We're not saying that's not the approach, but we give you other approaches as well. So a simple one-step, one-button approach will move your database into the cloud. And what we do is transparently, without generating a physical file on premises and consuming extra disk space, we create a backup of your instance or your environment in a cloud storage bucket. And then from there, we, what's the word for it? We hydrate, if you wish, a database from that backup. So we can do both physical and logical migrations. We can use the public internet to perform those tasks. We can also support high bandwidth virtual network with the Fast Connect service as well. So we have various ways we can perform that. I just took a screenshot of the website just to show you a breakdown of what your choices are. If you're moving to an autonomous database, then you would require a logical migration. We can do that both offline and online, meaning that your workload can continue running simultaneously while we create that autonomous database for you, whether it's dedicated or shared. And then if you're going to an Exadata, or by the way, this can be used for physically migrating to an Exadata on premises as well. It's not just restricted to moving to the cloud. So we provide support for additional services as well. So I strongly suggest if you have any interest in moving a database from one place to another to check out that web page. So just to wrap things up, hopefully I've shared or you're understanding that we can support most models you would wish to run on, right? Whether it be a large database or a small database, whether it's mission critical, whether it's just a sandbox, we can support any of these types of workloads. Hopefully you'll hear something about our converged database story if you haven't already. Just bear in mind, we can support document stores, spatial data, graph data, IoT data. All of these different types of data can run in our cloud without any issue. And we have portability of supporting multi-cloud workloads as well. I didn't have a picture of our data integration story, but keep in mind that we can run a workload perhaps for machine learning. We have a very rich machine learning tool set and framework. Perhaps you wish to run machine learning against your data that could be residing in another cloud that may not even be in a database. It may be sitting in a Hadoop file system, for example. And then we also have the flexibility of a multi-workload, right, to support any of these types of workloads you may choose to throw at it. One last slide, in case there are doubting Thomases out there about the cost and affordability of running in Oracle's cloud. We are across the board very cost effective in most cases, and the numbers speak for themselves. And then something else, if you're interested in trying it out, we definitely do have two services you should try. So we have this concept of a 30-day free trial where we give you $300 worth of free credits. And during that free trial, you can create whatever you want and burn up all those credits in one day if you wished, right? Deploy an Exadata. But once that free trial ends, you can convert it to an always free, or it will convert automatically. And an always free basically means you will have a service, the ability to create two autonomous databases, reduced in footprint, as well as two computes and some networking, etc., that will remain free forever. When you go to deploy an autonomous database, it gives you the choice to say, hey, I'm deploying an always free compliant database, and that database will remain forever without you ever being charged a penny for it. Now, what happens is if we see you're not using the database for an extended period of time, we will shut down the database. And then if we see that the database has not been touched or reopened after an extended period of time, then we'll warn you, and then finally we'll drop the free service. But you can rest assured, I've had an always free account. I have a few of them, both a personal one and an Oracle-based one, and they've been available for years now without me ever having to pay for them. And that comes into the script that I'm about to publish in my blog. it's a curl script to start up my always free databases for when they do get shut down, because I typically use them for demonstrations and things, and I'm not accessing them on a daily basis. But Oracle does a great job of notifying you that they're about to expire, and that those services are about to meet those limits. Now, one other quick thing before I hand it over to Jim. Sorry, Jim, I am going a couple of minutes over. We do offer some really good certifications for you. You can do your training through Oracle's online learning, or you can do them even through Coursera. And we provide Oracle Cloud Database Service Specialist, Autonomous Database Certification, as well as Cloud Migration Integration Specialists as well. So these are certifications that you would get just as you could be a certified DBA. We have these certifications. Jim, I know you're certified on them, so I know that Viscosity is definitely a trusted vendor on that front. But definitely take a look at these. You can go check out, there's an exam you can do just to see if you would pass or not. And then based on that, you can determine what kind of training is best suited for you. We have videos and tutorials to help get you through the certification process to become Autonomous Database or Cloud Database certified. And I will warn you, the 2021 and the 2020 certifications, you'd have to listen to me for the recordings. I delivered that training. One last thing, if you do want to familiarize yourself with any of these capabilities, we have something called Live Labs. We have millions of people have used these labs. We have hundreds of workshops that can step you through perhaps provisioning an autonomous database, perhaps provisioning a workload to run in a database cloud service VM. Perhaps you want to try out spatial or graph or curl or something, soda or something else. Definitely take a look. They're totally free to use. We provide an environment for you to run in. So you simply spin up an environment that is deployed in our cloud free of charge. And at the end of 48 hours or something, the environment is dropped. You can also run them on your own tenancy or your own on-premises environment if you just want to pull down the lab guide and run them yourselves. They're really nicely put together, very easy to follow with screenshot scripts and everything else. So thank you. Sorry, I went a little bit over, Jim. I completely apologize for that.
Oh, that's no problem.
I definitely took some of your time up starting a little late. So thank you so much, Sean, for getting through as much as you did in that time. There are two questions, or it looks like a question and a comment for you in the Q&A if you'd like to type an answer back to VJ. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Jim here and get our next session started.